Good morning. My name is Beth, for those of you who don't know me. I recently started a blog, and some folks wrote to me and asked me if I would put up a video because they liked listening to me rather than reading what I wrote. So here we go. I don't have any professional equipment. You can hear my fish tank over there making lots of noise. So we'll see how this goes, and then if people like it, then I'll invest in higher quality production. How's that? So the blog that I started is about sort of a mix of what I believe in personally, about life and love and God and spiritual things, and just a way for me to hold myself accountable for those beliefs and sharing them. So I am not an expert in anything, and I want to get that right out of the way right away. I am not an expert. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a philosopher. I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. I'm not a medical doctor. I am none of those things. I am a middle-aged woman who lives in eastern Pennsylvania. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. You know, that's who I am. So, so the posts here, first few posts are all about what I believe that I'm called for here in the physical world, and what I think all of us are called to do here in the physical world, and that is to love one another. And I am a Christian. I am spiritual. I am not necessarily religious, although I was raised in a strict religious tradition. And I do think that churches do bring value to people. I attend a church, although I don't belong to it. I have belonged to churches in the past. I've been very involved in churches in the past. So much so that at one point I had considered becoming a nun. So those of you who know me always chuckle once you realize that I was, for a very hot, brief minute, was considering becoming a nun. So definitely religious tradition is part of who I am. But that is not me now. So I do find a lot of spirituality in the woods, in nature. And I'm not a church basher. I'm not a denomination basher. In many senses, I feel like I can walk into any Christian church and find value in community. Certain churches, they feel differently about people like me who think that, but I don't find one denomination to be wrong. I think I think different denominations are all part of the same tree, with different ways of celebrating their understanding of Jesus Christ and their understanding of how the world works, their understanding of the Bible, and I find value in all of them. So, a hiker gave me the word omni, and I had never thought about that. They were an omni Christian because they kind of believed, excuse me, a little bit about all of them, and found value with all of them, and that is kind of where I'm at. But I'm not part of any one denomination, but I am decidedly Christian. I do believe that that God, there's one supreme God, and he sent his son to be an example of divine love. And that son came, was born of the Virgin Mary, was a teacher and a healer, and then he was crucified and rose from the dead 3 days later, and then was around for a while doing more teaching, more healing, and then was taken up to heaven to sit with God. So I believe that. And you are very free. I know I have a lot of friends who are atheists and agnostics and believe different parts of whether the Bible is, divinely inspired or whether it's not. I believe there are parts of the Bible that are inspired, but I do think that it was written by humans, and humans put their spin on it, perhaps left some things out that should be in there, perhaps put some things in there that shouldn't be there, perhaps didn't tell the whole story where they should have for political reasons. And I really feel like the only entity that knows what part of the Bible is true and what is fiction is God. I believe there is one, divine God, one divine being. And there are, is it possible there are gods underneath him? Sure. In the Bible, it doesn't say don't believe in other gods. It says, I am the one true God, believe in me before all other gods, which would then suggest there are other gods. I have no idea. If I was meant to know, I'd know. But I do believe in one God, and if that God has other gods that he has, like, helping him, angels that he has helping him, or whatever, it's up to God. I do believe in angels. I do believe in spirit guides. I think we're all assigned one at birth. I think spirit guides have never lived on the physical earth. They are energy sources beyond the physical world. I think we have no concept or frame of reference to understand them. I think I have a spirit guide that is different than your spirit guide. I think some people have multiple spirit guides. I feel like I just have one. You can find out the name of your spirit guide, and there's a really good video series, a guy that I actually trust, and I'll talk a little bit about false teachers, false prophets, and people that I trust on the internet. But you can find out the name of your spirit guide, and if you think about it, none of us really have names, right? We only have names because our parents gave them to us, or whoever gave them to us. So the name that's associated with your spirit guide is a name that helps you connect with them. So in and of themselves, they don't have names, but we can assign a name to our spirit guide. And for the purposes of my own privacy, I won't be sharing the name of my spirit guide with you, because it's a very personal connection, and my spirit guide is personal to me. And the name that popped up when you do this meditation, that Blair Robertson shares on his site, it isn't a name I would have picked for my spirit guide. I would have been much more elaborate and fancy with the name than the one that I got when I did it. But once I did it, and then I looked up the name, I was like, that name actually makes a lot of sense for somebody assigned to me. So it is what it is. I believe we all have the protection of one archangel, and then really the protection of all the archangels. But there's one archangel that is sort of your chief archangel. Mine happens to be Michael. Again, not a name I would pick. I have a brother named Michael, so I would probably not have picked the name Michael. But, it is what it is. But I do believe that we have the protection of angels. I do believe in things like fairies, not the kind that you see in Disney, but I think that we live in a multi-dimensional world, and that we don't have human understanding or knowledge of the possibilities of the things that are out there. And that can extend to fairies or gnomes or aliens, right? We don't possess the human knowledge to know everything that's out there and the different planes of existence that are. And I'm a romantic, and not in the Danielle Steele, but in the literary sense. But I am a skeptic, and I am pretty rational. So, I think science can help tell us a lot, but I think that it can't tell us everything. And I think we don't know what we don't know. So I'm definitely open to the possibilities that are around us, right? So, and anything I mention, from other sources, I will link down below. So I do think that there are a lot of false prophets out there. I think there are a lot of folks that make money out of people's grief and people's fear. And I'm very, very skeptical of mediums and psychics and things like that, that where profit is their number one concern. And this is, a limitation of my own, but if I see someone on YouTube and they claim to be a psychic, and they've got like the purple hair and like the big, crystal necklaces and the chunky rings and the yellow or like dark purple, like emo makeup, I instantly don't believe them. I just don't believe them. And they may be telling the truth. I'm not judging them, really. I don't know, but my personal instinct is like, oh my gosh, this is just a person who's has this showmanship. Like, it's more important for you to see them as being a person of spiritual whatever than it is allowing spirit to come through. And so I'm definitely drawn to people who aren't showy, and aren't, look at me, I'm a psychic, and I have the purple cloak, and I have the big amulet, and blah, blah. I don't have any time. I don't have any time for that. So, I really want, I'm on a search for truth. So I want to I want to sort people who I think have a message to share from people who I think are trying to profit from the emotions of others. So take that as you will, and you can criticize me in the comments. That's fine. But that's just how I kind of, that's like my first sorting mechanism. I do use divination tools. I pray. I use the rosary. Like I said, I'm Christian, and I do believe in the Virgin Mary, so I do the rosary. I was raised in a very conservative branch of the Anglican Church, so my formal prayers are Anglican prayers. I also find a lot of value in the Lutheran tradition, so I like a lot of their prayers, which are similar to Anglican prayers. And then I believe I can talk directly to God. I don't believe that I need to have an intermediary. I think I can talk right up to the main guy or girl or whatever, the main energy. God's both male and female energy, so I feel like we can speak directly to God. We don't need to go through anybody. I believe that the angels and the spirits that guide us, and our personal spirit guides, are here to help us to live our very best lives while we're in this physical shell. And so I believe that when we die, we cross over to the other world. I don't know enough about the other world to tell you if there's heaven and hell. Oh, all the alarms are going off. Let me go do that and come back. And all right, so now you all know it's 6 a.m. because that's when all the alarms go off. So, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but my gut is that we are always bodies of energy, and we are in physical bodies temporarily, and we go back to being energy. So that's what I believe, and I'll talk more about that as blog posts go on, but that's the basic summary of what I believe in as a human. So what is our purpose? I believe our purpose on earth is to be vessels for divine love. And I think that our world is hurting so much because we have so much darkness, because we have cheapened what love is. Now, again, not a theologian, psychiatrist, psychologist, or philosopher, but I do, I went to a Catholic college, which I'm very proud to have attended, and I learned, in my theology courses, there are 3 kinds of love. There is the love of, between you and your friends, and your relationships. And I want to be clear here that I'm not talking about sex. Sex is sex. That's a biological function. I don't tie sex to love. So sex happens as a result of love or not, but that's a physical activity. Not we can add emotion to it, but in and of itself, it's just a biological function. So there's relationship love between your friends, your partners, whatever. There is a family love, the love that you have for your mother and father and cousins and children and whatever. And then there's love of God and his love for you. Our human love is very imperfect, right? Because we have all kinds of conditions that are on it. You may have had a very tumultuous relationship with one of your parents, and or maybe didn't know a parent. And so, our human ability to love is very limited by our experience, right? When it comes to like relationship love, both sides don't love equally. I'm often reminded that, I've had, relationships over time, friendships and more romantic relationships. And in this one case that, I loved somebody so much, I still do. I still love this person so much. And I thought the person loved me back. But it turned out that the person didn't love me back. He said he did, right? He said he loved me. But then a day came when, I had heard this not devastating news, but this really, truly life-altering news, that really shook how my whole core. And I saw this person, later in the day, and he ignored me, and he spent all his time with this other person, and never once asked me how I was. And I thought, wow, even a friend, just a regular friend, not a partner, would ask me how I was. Even somebody from work would have asked me hey, wow, how you holding up? This is pretty big news. Are you doing okay? And I realized in that moment that the person didn't love me. The person said he did, but he really didn't. And, it didn't change how I loved him. But I thought, wow, I'm going to take a step back because I'm going to see what this is. And he just ignored me from then on. He never reached out or whatever, and ever again. And I thought, wow, he didn't love me and I loved him. And so, I was heartbroken. I'm still heartbroken, I think. But, Shakespeare said, love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. And that's from one of the sonnets. I teach English, so I have all these weird literary references. And that really means something that we know from the Bible, if we believe in the Bible, which is that if you truly love something, it doesn't change because somebody doesn't love you back or because, the tide has changed. Love is love, and if it's pure love, it's love. And so I still love this person, and it's okay that he doesn't love me back. I think I'm more hurt than anything, just because I wasn't expecting it, I guess was a surprise, but also because I don't know if it hurt more that he didn't notice that he shattered my heart or that he didn't care, right? But that's my human response to this. It doesn't change how I loved him because I loved him, and if love is pure, it always exists. So that's an example of the frailty and the limitations of human love, right? So, I've moved on. He's moved on. I'm sure he moved he moved on. I didn't even know it. And I use that example just because I think it illustrates something that we all kind of go through, where we have loved something and it hasn't loved us back, or we loved something and we thought the other thing loved us back but did not. And how do we rise from the ashes of those hurt feelings? How do we rise from the ashes of those broken hearts? And how can we be love in this world if our love isn't returned or our love is damaged? And that's because our love is imperfect. We're humans. Divine love comes from God. And our job on earth is to be a vessel for his love. Not our spin on his love, but his love. And I'm going to use his, although I do believe God is male and female energy in a ball. I don't think it's a human form. I have no idea, but but I'm going to use the pronoun he, just because I was raised in that tradition and that's what's going to come out. But I do mean male and female. I think it's more developed, obviously, and powerful than anything we can humanly understand. So I think our job on earth is to be vessels of divine love. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by not blocking it, right? If you think about a candle inside, in the olden days when they would use lanterns, right? The candle gets lit and it gets put inside the lantern, and then you carry the lantern. We are lantern bearers. We are torch bearers. We are to carry that flame and that light through the world, and as much as possible keep our hands, our human hands, out of it, and let God do his work. And by spreading that love, by being vessels for that love, we can combat all of the negativity that's in the world. And there's a lot of things that I don't understand or know, things about negative energy, things about demons, heaven, hell, all that stuff. I don't know a lot about that stuff, and I hope to discover it. Part of the blog is to hold myself accountable for the things that I'm learning, and the things that I find value in. Crystals, I think, are pretty. I really don't know if they have any spiritual value. I'm not sold on it yet. I mean, I think they're pretty. There's a lot written about them, but, do they actually heal you? Will they heal your cancer? I have no idea. But that's what the blog is about, kind of working through some of this stuff and deciding for myself what is fact and what is fiction. But I encourage you to do your own research. Don't take anything I say as absolute truth, because I am just human and I have absolutely no idea if what I'm talking about is nonsense. But I think it's okay to talk about it, and then you can decide whether you think it's nonsense or not. You don't have to believe what I believe, and I certainly don't have to believe what you believe, and that's okay. But I feel like as vessels of divine love, we can have conversations about things like this without getting upset, without getting irritated or mad or angry, right? We can have intelligent discussions about our belief systems without anger and and frustration. So anyway, let me know if you like these videos, and if you do, I will invest in better equipment and I won't sit next to what feels like a very loud aquarium. And if you don't, that's okay. I'll continue writing on the blog. The blog is really for me at the end of the day. It's an open diary about this quest to love others. You know, so I don't make any money. This channel is not monetized, and my blog is not monetized. I have a job. I make my money for my job. This isn't a career path for me. This is really just my spiritual journey. And so I don't have sponsors or anything like that. Wouldn't know the first thing about it, to be honest. But that's not what I'm in it for. I'm really just in it to sort of document this journey that I'm on. So thank you. If you've listened this far, thank you so much. And I would love if you did hit a like, and just so that I know that you watched this video. And if you made a comment or want to talk about something, please post it in the comments below. And I wish you all well, and I wish you all the best, and find love and light. Be well. Take care.